Hello everyone, welcome to EPG Pathshala program. Myself Shubhabrato Datta, Professor and Head, Department of Social Work, Assam Central University in Silchar, Assam. Now we'll discuss rural economy under the course Rural Development. And as you know, the India is known as an agricultural based country, as most of the population of villages depends on agriculture. Agriculture forms the backbone of the country's economy. The agricultural sector contributes most of the overall economic development of the country. For centuries together, Indian village has a self-sufficient and self-contained economy. During the past 40 to 50 years, rural reconstruction and development have been major thrust of economic planning, which has caused a rapid transformation in the Indian rural economic structure. As it has said, that still today 70% of the Indian population lives in rural areas. That means more than 100 crores. And agriculture is the first area which has a contribution towards our food, towards our raw materials and other areas. Naturally, the country's planning have a major thrust on the economic planning of agriculture and the rural transformation. India's economy is predominantly rural in character. This is evident from the fact that in 1991, nearly 74% of its population lived around 5,80,000 villages, and about 2/3 of its workforce was engaged in agriculture and allied activities in rural areas. Agriculture and allied activities contributed about 29% of India's gross domestic product in 94-95. Later I will come. It has reduced, but I will give the explanation. In a predominantly agrarian country like India, rural development is the sine qua non of national development, and agricultural development is a prerequisite for the rural development. In another module, it has been discussed the concept of rural development, where the contribution of agriculture has been discussed, and here we will be given more thrust on the how agricultural development had contributed to the rural economy. Therefore, in such a country, agricultural development should form the foundation for the national development. That means if our agricultural production increases, our national economy will have a better future and a progress. The role of agriculture in economic development has been recognized and discussed since the time of physiocrats. According to physiocrats, it was the only agriculture sector which produced an economic surplus over the cost of productions, and therefore it played most strategic role in economic development. Investment may be 100 rupees, but it is only the agriculture sector that can produce 110 rupees after the production. That means it has 10 rupees surplus, and that is possible only in the agricultural sector. They considered commerce and manufacture as a non-productive, in the sense that value of the raw materials handled by these sectors was enhanced only enough to pay for the labor and capital use in process of production. That means if the raw materials produced by the agriculture have a more value, then the commerce of the manufacturer cannot make surplus over there. That is the argument over there. That means agriculture have the capacity to make a surplus into the economy. And in that direction, the size and structure of the rural economy. The India's economy can be brought as one of the comprising two main sectors, that is the rural sector and the non-rural sector. That means we have both rural sector and the rural economy and non-rural sector. It isn't there. Rural sector in turns composed of the two main subsectors. One is agriculture, one is non-agricultural subsector. The agricultural subsector comprises agriculture and allied economic activities such as crop, husbandry, animal husbandry, dairying, fisheries, poultry and forestry. Not only direct production of the paddies and crops, it is also animal husbandry, dairying, fishery, poultry and forest. That means allied with the agriculture, comprised with that. Non-agriculture subsector consists of economic activities relating to industry, business and services. Industry here refers to cottage and village industries like khadi, handloom, handicrafts, etc. And business refers to micro enterprises, trading of general goods, small shops, petty traders, etc. Whereas service refers to transport, communication, banking, input supply marketing of farm and non-farm products. So very simply I am repeating here, the non-agriculture sector includes the industry, that is cottage and village industry, specifically khadi and handlooms, business, specifically micro enterprises, in another module we will discuss about it, and small shops and petty traders, and service, specifically transport, communication, banking, which is small in nature but have a number of inputs are in there. The main stakeholders of the rural sector include farmers, agricultural and non-agricultural laborers, artisans, traders, money lenders and those engaged in providing such services as transport, communication, processing, banking, education and extension. That means agriculture and non-agricultural subsector, the people engaged for production, business, services and through this their earnings are the stakeholders into the rural economy. In the rural areas, there are certain economic zone. One zone is the forest, which is very valuable and renewable sources, providing a vital life support system. With the fast growing population, the demand on forest has progressively increased. Because the number of population will increase, you require forest because it is input of the raw materials. Interpretation of land state imaginary indicates that out of 75 million hectare area recorded as forest, but only 64 million hectares sustains the actual forest cover. And out of this 64, only 35 million hectare adequate cover, which accounts only 11% of the total geographical area of the country at present. That means actual forest locations in total sense what a forest should be is the only 11% of our country's geographical area. But the National Forest Policy 1988 stated that country as a whole should aim at keeping about 1/3 of geographical area under the forest cover. So naturally, in the rural economy, forest sustainability and creation of the new forest is also one of the thrust area that are looking into. Next was the water. Another resource is the water. That is, water is a vital and realizing the full potential for the agriculture. As already stated, the agriculture is the main base, and for the sustainable agriculture, water supply is inevitable. Without that, agriculture cannot continue. So India is very well endowed with water resources, with an average annual rainfall of about 120 centimeters in the country and the surface flow of 180 million hectare meters. India has a vast water resources. That is why it is possible for the country for continuous agricultural production. In the time of independence, it was stated that one-time production in a per land. The same land at present sometimes cultivated 4 times, and definitely it is the water supply that has provided the backbone for this, though technology other things have improved. However, the total utilizable water is 114 million, that is 114 million hectare meters, comprising 69 million hectares meters as surface water and 45 million hectare meters as groundwater. That means our groundwater are continuously exploited. That needs more attention. Another resources after the forest and water is the fisheries, which is play an important role in the rural economy in India by way of augmenting food supply, specifically generating employment and earning foreign exchange. This very important areas is there, as number of people are engaged in the fisheries and the fishing directly and indirectly. Those who are directly catching and supplying directly, number of people are also engaged selling fishes into the markets. There are in between carrying people are there who are carrying these other fishes are there. So definitely it is first generating employment, and secondly huge food requirement is the fish. So it is providing food into our market, as well as it is earning the foreign exchange. That means fish has a demand into the foreign countries, fish raw materials, fish with finished products and many other issues. India has a marine coastline of 12,700 kilometer area and 4.52 lakh square meter as an exclusive economic zone of 1200 lakh square kilometer. That means we have marine, we have different water reservoirs, and we have 200 lakh square kilometer as an exclusive economic zone for the fisheries. Now agriculture as a foreign exchange, that means rural economy contributing towards getting the foreign exchange. How it is possible? There is that agriculture is an important source of earning foreign exchange, which is needed for importing capital goods for rapidly expanding industrial sectors. That means agriculture technology has improved. That technology requires certain capital goods, and that capital goods we are importing from the foreign country. So it is one of the area of exchange. Secondly, the value of agricultural exports announce about 18 to 20% of the total value of exports from India. We have different kinds of agricultural products. Very renowned Darjeeling tea, very renowned Basmati rice, very renowned Malda's mango. Likewise, number of agricultural products are there that is directly as a as a product, agricultural product are being exported into the different Western countries, specifically Europe and America, and for which it is earning foreign reserves in our economy, and that goes to 18 to 20% by the direct agricultural production increase. Exporting. Agricultural makes its contribution to the net foreign exchange earning through displacement of current and potential imports and through the expanding exports. That means earlier we were importing wheat from the different countries. Now, due to the expansion of agricultural products of the wheats, we may not be in a state that we require imports for the wheat. Secondly, we are importing sugar also. Our agriculture, specifically sugarcane production, reduce that imports too. On the other hand, we are exporting tea, we are exporting fruits, we are exporting our sugars also, and we are earning the foreign exchange. So it is both reducing the import and expanding the exports too by the agricultural products, and it is the contribution into the foreign exchange. It is market for the industrial goods and services. Market means rural sector itself is a market for the different products. Likewise, in urban sector we considered as a market where different products are being sold. Rural sector itself is a huge market for the number of different products. Like the agricultural sector provides a ready and big market for many goods manufactured and services provided by the secondary and tertiary sectors. Agriculture requires number of goods. What are those? Goods includes pesticides, insecticides, farm machinery, pump sets, cattle and poultry feed, fish feed, pipelines, fencing materials, veterinary medicines, and vehicles. So that means it is the scope for a huge industrial secondary and tertiary outputs to be sold as a finished product into the rural economy. Rural people also buy consumer goods manufactured by the industrial sectors. The one kind of product required for the manufacturing into the rural products. Another thing is that for their own requirement as a consumer goods, it is also being purchased by the rural people. I am giving one example. Now different pouch based products, it was not sown into the before 90s, maybe mid 90 onwards, whether the shampoo, whether the soap, or the many kind of consumer products have started to come in a very small unit that may be sold in 1 rupee, 1, 2 rupee or 3 rupees. Okay, as a bulk product in a bottle it required 100 rupees. Why this as the pouches have come up? Because target into the rural market, and it is huge sale are taking place over there. In fact, now many big companies have their eyes on rural markets for their products and services. Thus, increased farm income and purchasing power is a valuable stimulant to the industrial development, because the rural economy is market for many products as well as for the consumer products too. Now, rural economy is a source for the cheap food. How it has been become a source for the cheap food? Now, economic development is characterized by sustainable increase in the demand for food. Let us see the Indian population growth. With the annual compound population growth rate 2.4 to 2.14 to 2.88% per annum registered in India during the last few decades, and with a modest rise of 3% in real per capita income per annum, the annual rate of increase in demand for food in India is around 4% in calculation of elasticity of demand and other. That means every year 4% more food is required than the last year. How this demand will be fulfilled? It is basically none other than the agricultural products. Agricultural products are simultaneously increasing and capable to provide. Otherwise, if food supplies fail to expand in pace with the growth of demand, the result is likely to be a sustainable rise in food prices, leading to political discontent and pressure on wage rates, with consequent adverse effect on industrial profits, investment and economic growth. That means if there is a shortage of food, automatically the food prices will increase, and automatically many people will not be able to afford to buy these other foods, and automatically it will be discontent for the political as well as for our economy, and accordingly with the all components it will have problem for the industrial profits as well as it will stagnate the economic growth. So anyhow, centrally we are depending on our agricultural production for the increase and contribution. Now, direct agricultural production we discuss. Now, what are the subsector of the agricultural products? Rural sector constitute the basic foundation of India's economy. No program of national development can ever succeed unless it is built upon this foundation. More specifically, rural sector in general and its agricultural subsector in particular contributes to the growth of developments of India's economy in the following ways. That is the contribution to GDP. The agricultural subsector occupied a place of pride in India's economy and will continue to do so in the foreseeable future. How it is in there? Agriculture contributed 34.7% of the GDP at the current prices in the 80-81, but it has declined to close to 26% at the current stage. Now, but that does not mean that agricultural contribution has been less. I am explaining. As a matter of fact, the share of agriculture has been gradually declining since 1950-51, when it was 54.46%. For example, in the GDP, our agricultural contribution was close to 57%, in the 1950-51, which is almost half, close to 26% at the current 2014-15 year. It does not mean that agricultural production has been less to contribution. Agricultural production has been threefold or fourfold have increased from that time. But how the contribution have been reduced? Contribution reduced because the other sectors, that is business and the tertiary sectors contribution have been increased in many folds in a speedy manner than the direct contribution of the agriculture. Agriculture earlier was contributing 100 rupees, now it is contributing 300 rupees. Business earlier were contributing 50 rupees, now it is contributing 600 rupees. So automatically, as per proportion it has reduced, but as a volume or the quantity it has not reduced. The declining share in the GDP, however, does not mean the restoration of agriculture. It only means that the secondary and tertiary sectors of the economy are expanding at a higher rate. Now, it is also mainstay of livelihood and employment. A particular feature of India's economy is a very high proportion of the country's population living in rural areas. It is close to still 70%. Similarly, though the share of agricultural sector in GDP has been declining over time, but the proportion of population dependent on agriculture has been more or less stagnant around 60% since 1960s. We have seen the contribution of agriculture into the GDP as per share it has reduced, but quantity increased. Number of population, it is still close to 70% living into the rural areas, but the depending on agriculture as an employed person is 60%, and almost it is stagnant from 1960s. So it is a contribution for the employment sector too. It is a source of raw material. Our industrial sectors is booming and progressing and contributing higher rate because agricultural sector is behind it. How it is in there? Agriculture is the principal source of raw materials for India's leading industries such as sugar, cotton, jute, textile, leather, tobacco and edible oils. And these are the industrial sectors which have an export oriented market, and behind it, it is the agricultural raw materials. Many other industries like fruit preservation and processing, dal mills, handloom weaving, gur making and oil crushing also depend upon agriculture as a source of raw materials. Now in India we are also making the food park, jute park, these are coming up because agricultural surplus production or the local production are making conversion into the finished products by the farmers themselves. Okay, so that is also being possible because of the raw materials. The rate of growth in these industries is thus depend on the rate of growth of the agricultural sector, and agricultural development is a prerequisite for that development, because if we have to export a huge number of, for example, sauces, tomato sauces, we require tomatoes to product. So tomato as a raw material will come as a into the industry, then only as a finished product sauces can be possible. Now the role of non-agricultural subsector. The relative importance of non-agricultural subsector and the composition of the various economic activities includes sector differ widely from region to region in India. But broadly defined, subsector includes economic activities outside agriculture. It is not directly agriculture, but it is carried out by the villagers and varying in size and household in small factories. Some examples are those: cottage and tinny, village and small scale manufacturing, processing industries, trade, transportation, construction services and various kinds. For example, if you go to the West Bengal, you can see that there is a sericulture. It is one of the family based production unit, and sericulture has a huge contribution to that economy. How it is in there? Sericulture, a group only produce the raw materials for the sericulture. There is an agricultural product, there is a kind of leaf. Hectare after hectare, this production is there. So one group of farmers, they are just producing this one and they are selling it. It has a heavy demand. Secondly, a group of section who are in-house just cultivating. These are the sericulture seeds, and they are finishing the raw materials is coming out as a just what is called silk, as a raw it is coming out, and then this silk are being converted by the another sector, maybe cottage industrials part. They are making some sarees and different finished product that is also export oriented. So three way, at first it is agriculture, then it is a semi-agriculture, that means raw materials are coming out, and this raw silk are being converted into the finished products, and that is also being exported. So it is a kind of agriculture, non-agriculture subsectors, as well as a service. A group of people are making business for the selling of these finished products. So it is the contribution of the non-agricultural subsector. In India, cottage and village industries have been important occupation of landless and other people live in villages. Those do not have the land, they are specifically depending on one product to another product, in between they are making the business. And Khadi and Village Industries Commission has identified still today 95 industrial products are to be produced through the cottage industrial products only, and certain categories of products are also reserved. These are mineral based industries, forest based industries, agro based industries, polymer and chemical based industries, engineering and non-conventional energy based industries, textile industries and other khadi, and service industry. Non-agricultural subsector of India's rural sector also occupies an important place into the India's economy. How it is as a source of income, employment opportunities for the landless. Out of 27 crore rural workers, 4.5, that means 16 to 70% are engaged in a non-agricultural subsector. It is a huge employment generation area that almost 4.5 crore people are engaged, and that is 16 to 17% of our manforce. At the last, if we just want to sum up how the concept of rural economy and its contribution, it is specifically agricultural base, and agriculture have its subsectors also, that is agriculture and allied economic activities, crop husbandry, animal husbandry, dairying, fisheries, poultry and forestry. Direct agriculture as well as indirect agriculture both have a contribution, and it has generated employment in a huge number. Non-agriculture subsector consists of economic activities that is relating to industry and business, services. Industry here refers to cottage, village industries, khadi, handloom, handicrafts. And rural economy has become the source for our manufacturing products. That means our industrial sector is booming because of the raw materials supplied by the agriculture. Secondly, rural economy is a place where finished products are also being sold. That means a circle are being completed. Producing raw materials, it is being input as producing a finished product, that is become raw materials for the industry. Industrial finished products are becoming a market for the and it is becoming a market for the industrial finished products also. So it is almost completing a chain, and it is directly and indirectly helping the country to earn the foreign exchanges as well as to reduce the imports because of its self-sustainable capacity of the required foods, and exporting the foods and finished products are helping us to get the foreign exchanges. Okay, thank you for more explanation. Follow the e-text and the references over there.